Good morning, everybody. It's me, Teri Hunter. It is October 11th, 2020, and it's 11:01 a.m. And I'm here with Messages from Your Angels by Astrological Rising Sign for this week with the new moon and the Mercury Retrograde. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on with this. Lada did an extensive video about this new moon. And, we know that October is a month that seems to have us challenged to hold our wits, to be the lighthouse in the storm, to hold our reasonability when the rest of the world is feeling a little bit unreasonable. So we're going into a Mercury retrograde, and this is going to be opposing Uranus. The Mercury retrograde is in Scorpio. And so, to me, this is conversations that could bring unexpected deaths in relationships if we don't hold our mind. If we must not be reactionary. We must try to be the voice of reason. And Lada mentioned that this new moon is on the fixed star Spica, which I am born on. So I'm kind of excited about that because I've worked with the angels for such a long time, and I never knew I was born on the degree of Spica. So I want to encourage everybody to connect with their angels and their guides this week, to connect with their higher power, and not just this week, but moving forward, in 2020, so that we can be the balance. We can be the voice of diplomacy. This is a Libra new moon. And we have Mars that is opposing this new moon. So this could make things very cranky in Western astrology and in tropical Western astrology that I go by, whole sign. This is going to make the sense of self be offended in some ways, offended by maybe other people's lack of diplomacy, lack of fairness, lack of seeing what you think is obvious. So I just want to offer that because, there's not a lot we can do about it. I feel like even the best of us can just get caught off guard and be blindsided. So this new moon is the day before my birthday. Actually, my birthday's next Saturday. So thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. And I wanted to give us a few minutes into the chat. I'm going to segue. I'll talk more about the stars and such as we go through the readings. But I want to take a moment and let you all know that one of our tribe members that you guys depend on every week for your timestamps, Juan Chow, had a sudden bout of an emergency, and he's in the hospital. He had to have emergency surgery. He is fine, but he is going to be in the hospital for the next 5 days, or maybe it's 4 now, because I spoke to him yesterday via text. So I was hoping each one of you could take a minute during your day today to just send prayers and healing energy to him. I think he's through the thick of it as far as the surgery goes, and now it's the recovery. And he is a gentleman who is a soul provider for himself. So sending him angels to watch over him so that he doesn't overdo it, and that he mends quickly. So I want to say that, and then I'm just going to go into the readings right now. So let's start with our Pisces and work our way forward. And before I do that, I want to mention that I'll do the timestamps today, so it's going to take me a little while to do them. I've got a reading after the show, and then I'm going to have to go through the show. Juan takes notes as he goes along. So be patient with me there. And if any of you are inspired to put your timestamp in for your sign, that would be helpful in the comments. And then I wanted to also just really quickly mention the Mercury-Uranus opposition, because I quickly touched on there could be communications, there could be situations that create a sudden death in your And I don't mean that literally, I mean it figuratively, as if somebody, you have a conversation with somebody and they say something that just blows your mind. And you're like, you know what? I can't do this with you anymore. So I want to offer, if that epiphany comes to you through this new moon, then do your best to be as diplomatic and to deliver the information the way you'd want to receive it. And I want to say this too, because a lot of you are around the world, but for those of you that are directly affected by this presidential election season, I feel like this is already everybody's heightened in their belief system. So if we can sort of remember what this country, the United States, was built on, diversity. At least that was the ideology. So let's be part of that ideology, because what you resist persists. So when we stand in neutral and we are neither villainizing nor making someone a hero, then we can give life to the idea that we're all fabulously flawed human beings doing the best we know how to do with the experiences we have to, walk this journey in balance and in love. So that's where I'm going with that. I'm going to go on to the readings. So here we start. Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel for Pisces is Indriel, the light worker. The second is Merlina in the opportunity or the obstacle. The third is Ariel. And the final is Francesca. All right, Indriel in the foundational position is being joined by the Hawk. Merlina is being joined by the Risk card. Ariel is being joined by the Raven. And Francesca is being joined by the Butterfly. So now as I look at this, I want to call upon all my Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums to call upon your most spiritual side of your planet, Neptune, of your sign, because here's Indriel, the light worker. God needs you to shine your light on this planet right now. And the hawk, while it represents signs and omens, it's about rising above the situation. It's about rising above these challenging times. These are, transformation never happens during a period of contentment. It happens through disruption. It happens through chaos. If you think about the warmth of a baby in the womb is warm within its mother's protective shell. And then as this almost violent birthing canal, they go into this small little place in order to be birthed into a much bigger concept. I want to call upon Pisces, whose ancient ruler is Jupiter, to really take that sort of overview, because people may I say, Merlina says you're confused and indecisive, and there's the risk card. And I don't think that you're confused and indecisive as much as I think it may be a risk, and you'll be confused about how people may respond to you. People are so passionate. Masks, no masks. Vaccines, no vaccines. Trump, Biden. It's very, very polarizing right now. So what I'm looking at, I guess, is seeing that not only does Pisces have an opportunity to experience something quite profound this week, because in the angel's advice is Ariel, saying new psychic and spiritual experiences are changing the way you view yourself and the world. And then there is the Raven, and it's in direct relation to your risk of being your authentic self. And this is not about disclosing your political views or any of your beliefs per se, but rather staying in a neutral place of holding space and light for the diversity of opinion, beliefs, and all the other diversities that we experience as the human. Because in the final position, we have the butterfly and we have Francesca. And Francesca is saying, what are you going to visualize right now? Focus on that and it will come about. And that negativity blocks your progress because it's a focus on what is fear-based, on the what if that doesn't work for you. And there's the butterfly. And I remember, I don't want to say remember because some of you may not have heard this, but the butterfly, once it's broken out of the cocoon, must lay in for days. I think it's 2 or 3 days while the wings dry, and is very vulnerable to all sorts of prey. So that is when we must rise above a situation and see the wisdom of some apparent disruption. You also have an aspect, and I believe that it's an opposition between, it would be Neptune and Venus in Virgo. So there's an opposition with Neptune, I believe, is still retrograde in your sign as Venus is in Virgo. In fact, that's right, because have Venus in Virgo. So the people around you may in some ways find that some of their Venusian dynamics, illusions are being broken up. You know, people may find that their love life reveals something that is not as pleasant as they would like it to be. And I say that because, again, this is not for Pisces, but those around you. And so your job is to stand in that sort of spiritual dynamic of holding space for someone as they walk through an illusion or a disruption that will serve their greater happiness, but in this moment may not appear that way. So that's kind of how I'm putting it. All right. Okay. I have finally gotten Zoom, you guys, and I upgraded this last week or so I can do things on Zoom, which I think I can then take to Facebook. So I'm going to look into that so we can see all of your beautiful faces as you join us. All right, let's go on to our Aquariuses. I want to welcome everybody and congratulations, Shelley, for starting your job next week. I think I've told you guys that Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter, all, mostly Pluto now, because Saturn and Jupiter sort of move quicker around it, have been squaring both my sun on Spica at 23 degrees and my ascendant in Aries at 26 degrees, and soon my Mars, which is at 27 degrees in Libra. So I've really processed all of this because Pluto is such a scary planet when you think about it. It's like, what is it going to bubble up in my life? What kind of mayhem will it create? And this is where I keep getting this disruption is the doorway to your dreams. I think I mentioned that last week. So as we walk into our Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, why don't we use this Plutonian energy that says, I'm willing to dig deep to the deeper truth, and not because I'm looking for a death, but I'm looking to be the phoenix that rises, that comes up from this situation bravely and courageously, which is what Mars represents. The anger and the warlike behavior of Mars's more challenging dynamics, when shifted into the peaceful warrior, can do grateful things, can do great things, and we can be grateful for it. So that's where I kind of want to go with that. All right, let's go on to Aquarius. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. I think everything in the chart, Bobo, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I think I just want to address her sort of comment question. The Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn, to me goes like this. It's in my 10th house. So for me, it is about being very brave in my career, being very brave in my authenticity to be myself. And while Libra can be the people pleaser, there's the square, right? My son, do I want to tell you what you want to hear, or do I want to tell you what the truth is that's coming through that may appear challenging? I've been listening to a lot of astrologers about this election and their predictions to see if indeed they align with what I'm getting intuitively. And I have gotten intuitively for years. And what I see is many of them are like, please don't send me the hate mail. Please don't send me your comments because I'm just delivering the information. That's something I've struggled with. I know Bobo, it may sound like I'm kind of going into a different place, but what I'm trying to say is if each one of us bravely looks into what does the house represent where this is happening? And where am I willing to be brave in where I've been holding myself back? So if it's in your 8th house, where can you be brave and what is your relationship with money? Has Saturn depressed you or held you back from making money because Jupiter's beliefs are not aligned to a higher vibration and Pluto is giving you an opportunity to rebirth that? But first there must be this death. And sometimes the human will put themselves in such a deficit that the survival instinct is what gives them the experience that they can create. Being in the middle is really very precarious because being in the middle is very easy to get complacent. And so sometimes those disruptions, again, disruption is the doorway to your dreams, they spawn action that we otherwise would not be brave enough to take. All right. I need one. Here I go with my Aquarius. I'm really starting now, guys, I promise. Okay. I hope that helped. Okay, good. I hope that helped. This is Western, whole sign. And I go backwards from Pisces to Aries, and I am working my way. I'm on Aquarius right now. I just finished Pisces. Juan's in the hospital, Stephen. I don't think he had any issues with the hurricane. Okay, here we go. For our Aquarius, our first angel is Maya. The second is Opal. The third is Rosetta. And the final is Archangel Michael. Okay. Okay. Joining Maya is the partnership card. Joining Opal is the butterfly. Joining Rosetta is Merlin. And joining Archangel Michael is the birth and the rebirth card. Okay. This is what I want to say for Aquarius. When I look at Maya talks about schooling and education. And many of you may be actually experiencing your children going back to school. But I'm gonna make it a little bit broader here because this is about partnership. And I think Aquarius is learning something about how you are in partnership. And I want to put it this way. I'm going right to that new moon. I'm going to the idea that it's in Libra. And I'm thinking about the challenging sides of Libra, even though we're on Aquarius, because the new moon to me is asking, your ruling planet is Uranus, but it's also Saturn in ancient times. So depending upon your chart and the other influences, if you're an Aquarius rising moon, sun, or stellium, the Aquarius could be, by the other planets, the Aquarius ruler could be potent, but at the same time, the Saturn ruler could be kind of potent because let's say you're a Aquarius moon with a Capricorn rising. Saturn would be potent and would be because what I want to say here is I feel like there's been somewhere where you've restricted something about yourself and you've restricted the Uranian uniqueness, and it may have come out sometimes in shocking ways as if a frustration would bring out your more authentic side some way. Because this is when I say that you're learning about partnership, I feel like this is about partnerships in work, partnerships in community, partnerships in your intimate partnerships as well, but also your partnerships with your children. Because there is Opal, saying that your children on heaven and earth are safe and well cared for. And then here's the butterfly, which is about transformation. Pluto is offering us transformation. The new moon is in opposition to Mars in the first house, and Mars is squaring Saturn, and Saturn is your ancient ruler. So to me, this is about being willing to look at where I may be a little bit blunt. I may be a little bit, because Uranus is shocking. Uranus is unexpected. So how have I shown up in my partnerships, both Saturnian and Uranian, but in the combination of the most challenging dynamics, because it's time to rise above that. It's time to transform past that. I hope I'm making sense right now, because through this dynamic, I believe that this is the children, the card of children that represents teaching, guiding, and loving on children, parenting them. And here's Merlin. But this is in the angel's advice in relation to this child card. So let me kind of be clearer, because not all of us have children. I don't have children. So this would be my dreams. Where does Aquarius harbor more Saturnian lower vibrations that are holding you back from what you want, and then being frustrated sometimes and having the Uranus aspect be shocking sometimes just for a reaction is the way I want to put it. So because now is a time to be courageous, to have a rebirth, and to start to actually step into the vibration of what you want to live, and start to use disruption as the doorway to your dreams. Now I can flip that and say some of these partnerships may be for those of you that have children. You may be losing your temper with them over this new moon, this week. And there's an opportunity for you to start to watch your children evolve, to watch your children as they, when they're little babies, we have to take care of all their needs. But as they start to they learn, they grow, they get their own skills, allowing them the privilege of that dynamic and how you're responding to it. Are you being too much of a parent? I hope I'm not being too wordy here, because this is really about Aquarius looking how they're showing up and how they're landing on other people. And in doing so, then you could be more effective in your communications, which will then get you more of what you want versus not getting what you want or getting resistance to what you want. Because there's something about you guys, Aquarius, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, that is fostering a little bit of disruption within your own life. So maybe a little more empathy, maybe a little bit more listening. Okay, let's go on to our Capricorns, see what's up there. I have to say, as I shuffle, there has been so much interesting things. I mean, first there was this just a few days ago, there was a complete meltdown in the neighborhood here with a few of the neighbors who got into it unexpectedly over loud music. And I mean, it turned into such a crazy, literally, I felt like the Mars squaring Saturn, because it was all about following the rules, and somebody wanted to do what they wanted to do and they lost their mind. The police came. It was just honestly, this woman stood out on her balcony screaming out to the whole neighborhood to basically F off. And so now it's just been so funny, I got to tell you. So this is kind of the things, observe, don't take knee-jerk reactions, give yourself a minute. So, all right, here we go. All right. Capricorn, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right. Because when you see these things playing out on the world stage and you connect them to the stars in the sky, you can see that some of this is divinely guided. Some of this cray. Okay. All right, here we go. For Capricorn, our first angel is Bridget. Our second is Vanessa. The third is Estera. And the final is Caressa. When I think about the squares and all this opportunity for transformation, and at the same time, my life doesn't feel like, a lot of stuff is happening necessarily on the outside. So when you guys are observing your own aspects of what house is this conjunction between Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, and then that would tell you where is it squaring Aries and what house and where is the new moon going to be, because all of that combination is sort of like a recipe and an opportunity to let the disruption sort of blow around you in some ways and not hit you directly. I feel like there's an insulation if we're mindful, and then the epiphany, and then the benefit of it all in your personal lives. I don't know about the world stage just yet. Okay, joining Bridget is the perception card. Joining Vanessa in the opportunity, the obstacle is the movement card. Joining Estera is the bee, and joining Caressa is the burden card. Okay. So here we go. Saturn represents the old. It represents what is established, what doesn't want to change, what wants to follow rules, whether we like them or not. So now all of you Capricorns really get to look at your perceptions. And this is not about judging them. This is not about assessing whether you're in alignment with what others think, even your governments. I think this is really truly about, are your perceptions serving you? When I think about this, I have like this aspect. I think that for me, there are certain relationships that I have that I've had for so long that my perception is solid on them, very Saturnian. And so I end up, when those situations come up or those relationships come up, I get triggered into the old way of thinking, because the old way of thinking is the co-creation of the same dynamic that goes over and over and over again. So now I have to think, okay, so if I'm willing to look at my own perception, I always expect you to be late. And because of that, I'm always a little teed up when you're late. And maybe I'm even a little more hard on you because you're always late. So I'm ready early, waiting for you. I'm just using that as an example, because when you look at this, then you have an opportunity to shift it, because now you're saying, you know what, am I going to operate on an old story, or am I going to have faith that there's a new story? And not because the other person shifted, because I shifted, because I decided that I know that person's late all the time. So I'm going to relax. I'm going to have a cup of tea while I wait. That's what I want to say, Capricorn, because your being energy, the angels say, your being energy is how you will make it where you want to go. This is how you'll reach for the stars, is to have faith that things can shift. And they may not shift exactly the way you think the rules should be. The point is for you to look and see that they can shift, because there's a new chapter ahead. And while there's a little bit of a burden here, it could be back to your perceptions of wanting things to be done by the rules. And the rules are being rewritten. And part of that rewrite is how we write the rules for ourselves during the big recalibration of how we're all doing it. We are going through historic times. I mean, COVID, our people protesting, or people expressing themselves, I want to say. We had a Trump, I don't know what even to call it, because I don't think it's a demonstration. It's a bunch of cars driving by with flags, and they're all, very pro-Trump. And when I see this, I think this is democracy at its finest. It doesn't matter whether I am a Trump supporter or not. That's where I'm going with this. Because Capricorn, your perceptions are in many ways what's screwing you up. I say that in a loving way, but people with a Capricorn rising will tend to look at things from a drier point of view. From, I don't do this because I like to do it. I do it because it's the right thing to do. And that's what I'm trying to say, is the right thing to do is being rewritten. So when you have faith in the evolution, faith in the evolution of mankind, and then you start to show up with that faith. And it's not about paying attention to the other person acting like you need to have faith in them. It's more about looking to see, how do I want to feel about this? in the midst of this situation. Between my neighbors, I live in a small place, and the neighbor that had the argument, literally our doorways are this far apart, our front doors. So I could hear everything. And the interesting part is that I could see the meltdown that she was having was really a result of the stars and COVID. And there was a part, the neighbor downstairs wanted to villainize her and make her the evil queen. And he couldn't see that she was having, she'd reached her limit. She just had to blow. So this is where there could be something where when you, as a Capricorn, are able to see your perceptions, you can show up a little bit differently. Because you're here today and you watch on Lada's channel, you listen to the videos, you have like an inside track in some way. So it's made feel a bit like a burden to allow for all of this transformation. But there's something more beautiful on the other side of it, because it's there's no getting out of it. It's happening. The momentum is set. All right, let's go on to our Sagittariuses. All right, here we go. Yes, William, I and you, you and me. It's exactly what it is. And then taking that one step further, then in every situation, creating the win-win. I drove a clutch forever and a day. I don't have a car anymore. I gave it up. I wasn't driving. And when you don't have something you want, and when you have it and you don't use it, you're like, ugh, who needs this? Of course, when I gave up my car, I still thought that the world was going to be normal and I could get on the trolley and take the trolley down to CVS pharmacy, and all of that ceased. So anyway, we're on to our Sagittariuses. It's funny. I don't want to say it's funny, but I feel the difference without having Juan in the room. It's interesting. I've gotten used to a lot of you being here every week, and so your energy is so powerful in the room, even if you don't think it is. So thanks for being here. All right, Sag, let's get on to you. Dear God, help me with these timestamps. Okay. Our first angel for Sagittarius is Maya. The second is Xana. The third is Oceana. And the final is Rosetta. Yes, he does, Stephen. Okay, here we go. Sagittarius. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is, joining Maya, the angel Maya, is the queen. Joining Xana is the eagle. Joining Oceana is the bee. And joining Rosetta is the dragon. All right, so for those of you that didn't watch Lada's video about the new moon, it's on the fixed star speaker, which is the voice of the angels, the connection to the angelic realm. Sagittarius represents that very thing, 9th house. So I really want to offer this opportunity to, Maya represents schooling and education, and the queen represents fertility, represents reception, represents female friendships, the female energy. But I want to offer it this way because I think that Sagittarius has an opportunity to learn more about receiving from a place. And I want to put it this way. I don't think it's about receiving instruction. I don't think it's about receiving guidance. I actually think that it's about receiving the things of your heart that you want. Let's say you've wanted to get, a new vacuum cleaner or a new shirt, or, I don't know, something that you would think is slightly frivolous. I feel like for Sagittarius, this is about going to God and the angels and saying to them, thank you for this great thing that I want. I wanted a new car for a long time. I drove a 20-year-old car and it was breaking down. And I literally kept thinking, because a friend of mine that I knew at the time, he was getting a new car. And I kept telling myself, I want him to give me his old car. I want him to give me his old car, because he was that kind of guy. He would just give you his old car. Well, I did that for about a year. I mean, I didn't spend too much time on it, but every time I thought about getting a new car, I thought, well, so-and-so will give me his old car. Well, sure enough, about a year later, he didn't give me a new car. I mean, he didn't give me his old car. He bought me a new car. It wasn't my car to keep, although I thought it was at the time. But there was, I want to put there, the manifestation happens in ways you can't perceive. And this is about learning about that, about receiving in a way for things that you want that you think maybe at this time you cannot get, because the angels tell me that you're being protected. And I don't think that this is about physical harm. I think that this is about your belief system, and that it's kind of in a little bit of time. And I'm going to go here to Oceana, and the B card is to take action. Instead of buying into what you see on the news every night, maybe you should take a little detox from the news and start going into fantasy land. Start using the dynamic between, the more Neptunian dynamic of allowing yourself to fantasize, allowing yourself to really swim inside what it is you'd like to experience, because your power and strength come from a childlike dynamic. And that's what the dragon represents. And I want to say this too, because obviously Sagittarius people can have children and may want to have children. So I want to address that as well, because the last couple of years for the soul to incarnate on this planet has been super challenging. They come in with conjunctions that set the tone for their life path. So for me, many of them souls are choosing to wait a little bit till this cuckoo has gone a little bit more calm. And that could be when Saturn and Jupiter make their entry into Aquarius. I believe that if indeed you've been trying to get pregnant, part of this schooling and education is not to give up too much power to the medical community, to disempower your body, to seek ways to fuel your body, to allow it to, and I want to say it this way, when I say fuel your body, I'm not necessarily, when I talk about procreating, I'm not talking about food, although that's an aspect. Joyous interactions, joyous intimacy, faithful, not trying to have a baby, just having an expression of joyous commingling of two bodies. Because I think that's a lot about what you have to learn, is that I think that we've divided our lives into compartments. And Sagittarius, you may be, okay, here's my career sector. And now I'm a certain age, I want this to happen. And then the minute you think it happens, then all the obstacles that could potentially come in, the way that the fertility goes these days, you become a geriatric woman so early in life. I mean, early 30s, they're already showing concern, and that's just straight up ridiculous. So I want to offer that for my Sagittariuses that are trying to start families, both men and women, because if you're a partner of somebody who's concerned, you can help hold space for them to see it from a bigger picture. But I think the most of the emphasis is on receiving good during challenging times. Okay, here we go. Would have John Lennon been 80 years old this year? Did I see that somewhere as it was shooting by? What an amazing, amazing music man he was. I mean, if we think about it, that's, hello, Martina. So good to see you. Yeah, he would have been 80. Imagine what a wonderful song that is. What a divinely inspired song that was. I don't believe for 1 minute that John Lennon wrote that by himself. And the fact that it will stand the test of time, that song will be listened to 100 years from now. So I want to even offer you guys this week, if you're feeling challenged by, and I just got chills everywhere, challenged by the dynamics of October, of this really tense, challenging new moon in Libra that wants peace and harmony, and yet it's squaring everything. And so I want to offer it this way. Listen to that song, Imagine, and imagine it to be the prayer. And think if each one of us did that this week, the kind of power we'd be putting into the universe. So there's my plug for that. Because he's not asking it to be, just to imagine it. And that's what manifestation is. It's being able to imagine something to the point where you feel it emotionally. Because emotion actually creates. Doing does not create. I know that may sound crazy, but if the emotion is, I'm not sure I can, I'm not sure I can, our creation is based on, I'm not sure I can. And if I'm willing, if my creation is based on, I'm willing to see if I can, that's a different vibration. That's more of a hopeful and faithful vibration. Okay. Here we go. Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, here we go. Scorpio, our first angel is Athena. The second is Patience. The third is Teresa. And the final is Layla. Okay. Joining Athena is the Lady of the Lake. Joining Patience is the Focus card. Joining Teresa is the Novice. And joining Layla is the Deer. You know, when I look at this for my Scorpios, the first thing I think of is that there's some sort of power struggle within yourself of your stinger and wanting to be cooperative, wanting to express something and feeling getting sort of a bad rap. You know, Aries gets the bad rap for being too angry and resentment, and Leo gets the bad rap for being, you know, sucking all the air out of a room, and Scorpio gets the bad rap for that stinger. Now we have this opposition with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, opposite Uranus. So I want to say that this is a time when Scorpio may be feeling emotions extremely tumultuously, and there are emotions about expressing yourself, about wanting to say something, about being afraid that if you say something or you express a deeper truth, that you'll pay a consequence for it that you don't know that you want to pay. And I think that Excalibur right here is asking you to cut through the bullshit, pardon my language, to the deeper truth of what you're afraid of really something that serves your happiness and will work for you? Or is it something that you've just grown accustomed to? Because in the opportunity or the obstacle is the Patience card, which is really talks about assessing a situation, doing what Mercury asks of us, to review, to reevaluate, to reconsider where our focus has been. Because I think your focus may have been on the outside, and meaning if you show up good enough, you know, this enough, that enough, other people will sustain and validate and bring you what you need. And I feel like that maybe you're looking at situations that aren't even capable of bringing you what you need. Because in the angel's advice is Teresa, the card that says, I've been taking care of everybody else but myself. And the angels are offering a new beginning, almost like it's an opportunity for you to stand up for you. And I don't mean stand up against someone else. I don't mean the challenging vibrations. I mean the interior job. I mean the taking time to spend with God and the angels, communing about what really triggers you. The Deer is about fear, but it's also about gentleness and diplomacy. And I started this talking about the Scorpio stinger. And some people may say that you say things that are mean, or you do things. I feel like somehow in the communication, department or your everyday activities, you're getting a bad rap for being mean, when I think you might just be being blunt with your truth, but it comes from a defensive place. So when you're contemplating and when you're looking at your focus, the other person is not going to enjoy what I'm going to say. The other person is going to either dump me if I have too many needs. If the other person doesn't always get what they want, da 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 da. There's the story. Because this is about being gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you learn how to express yourself in a way that becomes fearless, so that your desires and your needs can be met. And so here we have a new moon in Libra, the sign of partnership. So I want to say to Scorpio, in your partnerships, I think it's time to review where you may be shaving off too many edges, or where you may be giving up more than you really in your dream world would have wanted. And if indeed that's something that is a compromise, because you may think you're compromising because your stinger is saying, oh, I'm too mean, or I want too much, or whatever the Pluto dynamic is. And I think it's time to really look at that. Maybe you've been holding yourself back, or not allowing yourself something that is important for your emotional well-being. So this is an interior job this week. It's about assessing where you're clipping off your own needs because you're in fear that if you do, somehow somebody may take something away from you. So, yes, Dawn, I agree. The Scorpios sting themselves twice as many times as they sting everybody else. And that's where I'm going with this a little bit, because I think they deserve to be able to express themselves more and take that off the table. So I think you're absolutely right there. Okay. Artie, we're heading on to Virgo. I go backwards. Okay. All right. So where I'm headed now to is Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. This is our moon. It's the day before my birthday. Lada said it was going to be challenging, but it's on Spica. So, and I want to say this too, just in general for everybody. This is a time to really take care of your physical body, because if indeed I'm a salt hound. I love salt. I haven't had any Lay's potato chips in quite some time, but boy, they were my go-to thing for a while. Just plain regular Lay's potato chips and a nice iced tea. Not really feeding my body. Did it feed my taste buds? Sure did. So while we're going through all this spiky energy, if you know that something just makes you feel inflamed, because this is on a gut. When I eat potato chips, I can feel it in my joints here. And then I started to think about, what other organs does it affect? We don't think our brain doesn't get inflamed. We don't think our brain, the way we're processing things, doesn't get affected by all the other systems that we do and how we fuel. So this week, fuel your body. Don't feed it. I learned how to make a few really yummy vegan dishes this week, by the way. I went to Instagram and searched vegan food and tried 2 different things that were super yummy. Had no idea that it could be that good. All right, here we go. On to Libra. All right, Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. We have the angel Maya in the foundational position. We have Grace and Antoinette in the opportunity or the obstacle. We have Athena in the angel's advice, and we have Xana in the final position. Caitlin, you're very funny. They may be that your taste buds, yes, one thing, but does it really fuel your body? I don't know. Oh my goodness, you're so funny. Well, you're a lot younger than me, Martina. So you only have to really worry about it like when you get to be old like me. I'm going to be 61 next Saturday. Boy, I can't even believe it when I think about it. Just, boy. All right. Here we go. Maya is being joined by the Focus card. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Fire Fairy. Athena is being joined by the High Priestess, and Xana is being joined by the Swan. All right, my Libras. You know, this year of 2020 with the Pluto aspect is bringing up imbalance. It's like, imagine you're renovating a house and you get into the plumbing and you see the pipes have been there for years. There's corrosion. There are holes in certain spots. Some spots are great. And when we talk about Libra, the holes come in the form of passive aggressive. I want to be cooperative, but if I don't like what I'm getting, I'm going to appear cooperative. Well, I'm not really cooperative. And I feel like Libra, looking for balance this week in this new moon, looking for something, you're learning about your focus. And because I that is the key. I swear, on a daily basis, I am reminded of and empowered by my consciousness of my focus. And when my focus is off, when it's tired, when my focus is, I have to do this now, I don't want to do it. I try to give myself a break. And this is where the key comes in, because sometimes that have to is fear disguised, and sometimes it's real exhaustion. So I do a video every Monday, and like I do this show every Sunday. And there's times on Monday when I have a lot of resistance, and there's a lot of story I've made up because the dynamics are different than they are on Sunday. And so this is where I get to really learn that my focus sometimes is fear-based. And what am I fearful of? I'm fearful of the unknown, fear of rejection in some ways, fear of lack of success. And then I get to go deeper. Why do I feel that way? Because it's about having compassion for being a human being. Every human on the planet asks themselves these questions if they have any desire to change or to evolve to a place of their own happiness and their own fulfillment. And now it's time to start to take creative action. I don't even want to say to be optimistic. The creative action is, what if this sense of obligation or whatever fear base that I have is actually the very thing that I, as I conquer it, becomes the empowerment, becomes the opportunity for me to trust myself, because I'm now willing to move towards what I love. And what I love is the version I have of myself. When I turned 50, I started to really think, holy crap, if I don't start to move towards what I love, and this is what I love, teaching about spirituality, talking about how to empower you to create the best life ever, because this planet was not meant to be prison. It was not meant to be purgatory. It truly was meant to be nirvana, but nirvana was not absence of challenge. The challenge is where the empowerment lies. But the challenge is that we come from a very Saturnian place normally. We've been in this Capricorn sort of dynamic where we do what we are told to do because it's the right thing to do by somebody else's rule book. Because you're being protected, Libra, as there is transformation coming. And I say that because the Libra dynamic is about harmony. It's about cooperation and partnership. And what is the best way to be a cooperative partner is through accepting someone's flaws, and not because they're taking advantage of you and sitting on their flaws, but because it's part of the human experience. And in doing so, how do I want to show up in the face of that? So for Libra, I want to say this, and this is really an opportunity to empower yourself to an even greater level as you experience your solar return. And for those of you that are experiencing your Saturn first return or second return, this is pivotal for the chapters ahead for you, especially your first return, because you've got many years of your life ahead of you. I'm not saying I don't, but my first Saturn return, I didn't know I was having it. And I'll tell you, I got a drunk driving ticket. I had so much disruption through my first Saturn return, but it was also breaking up a lot of the illusions. Because when I got that drunk driving ticket, I was hiding behind being unhappy and pushing myself into another agenda. I literally got a drunk driving ticket because I was driving home from a date with a guy I didn't want to go out with, because my friend and I had double dated. And she said, before you break up with him, you guys owe us one more dinner. And I was just young enough to buy that. And so I forced myself. And then I drank too much. And then this story is what it is. But from that moment, being in jail, lovely, and not driving for months afterwards because of that experience, I realized I would never do anything about that again. And then my life started to I started to claim myself in each and every situation. And I didn't start to think of myself as selfish, but in this way, I was creating harmony, because by standing for my own particular creative action, wants, and desires, I literally was saying to other people, you get to do the same thing because I won't judge you. So that's what I want to say for my Libras. So because this moon, the squaring that we're all feeling, especially late born Libras, because, the early born Libras experienced this a while back when Pluto was way somewhere else. The late born Libras are getting the real impact of and late born Aries, all those points, how it works where the degrees match up. So rather than fighting the transformation, trying to stay in the old place, allow for a little of the old and the new as the old breaks away. So you allow for a slow movement towards a new dynamic. Okay. Oh, CJD, I'm so jealous. You're going to be on a spiritual retreat all weekend. That sounds fabulous. I haven't done anything like that in forever and a day. Probably 8.5 years since I got my dog, because I can't stand leaving him. Okay. Here we go. On to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay. For our first angel for Virgo is Caressa. The second is Astera. The third is Ray. And the final is Crystal. Thank you, Paradiscipline. I was just thinking about Juan. He has a Virgo stellium as well. So we're thinking of Juan today, sending him lots of healing energy. All right. Caressa is being joined by the butterfly. Astera is being joined by the swan. Ray is being joined by the restriction card. And Crystal's being joined by the frog. The first thing I want to say to Virgo is, years ago I read this book called The Bridge Across Forever by Richard Bach. And there was a saying, I was going through a really, really challenging time in it. I was my one and only fiance, and it didn't work out, and I was really mourning my life. And I read this passage where he said, there will come a time when you will actually be grateful for your past. You will look back on the obstacles you've walked through, and you will see the empowerment they offered you, something to that effect. This is what I feel like it is for Virgo, because Caressa says, and I'm getting chills all up down the right side of me. Caressa says you're at the end of a life cycle, that new happiness awaits you. And the butterfly is about, obviously it's about transformation. But I want to take it away from the transformation, and I want to go to beauty. I rarely mention this when it comes to the butterfly, but one of the things that we all ooh and ah over is the beauty of them. It doesn't matter if it's a yellow butterfly or a monarch or any of the others. There's a beauty to the way their wings catch the light, their movements themselves. And I feel like that is exactly what Spirit is asking Virgo to do, is to see that there is a beauty through this transformation. And I'm going to go to the final position, because I feel like the crystal is saying, have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And this is releasing you from, I want to put it this way. It feels very mercurial, releasing you from thought processes and patterns that have been obligatory that have been, again, dutiful in some way, what was expected of you versus what you may have been chosen for yourself. Because in the opportunity of the obstacle is Astera. It says, reach for the stars with your dreams and desires and not to compromise. And there is the swan. And the swan goes from the ugly duckling to the swan, but it's also about trusting your intuitive gifts. And what I do believe is that you will experience the connection to spirit more tangibly in many ways. I feel like, I want to equate it this way. I have Venus in Virgo. And I remember when I was younger, people used to say, oh, that's the virgin. And I used to think to myself, I'm no virgin. I'm not prude. What is this all? It didn't make any sense to me. And I also have Pluto within 5 degrees of my Venus. But I want to say it this way because there's so much more to Virgo than what may be traditionally thought of. And now as you transform into allowing a practicality, a realistic earthbound dynamic to your spirituality, I feel like it lifts restriction. That's the way I want to put it. Your connection with spirit lifts the restriction because you're coming from a place where you don't have to see with your eyes as much as you used to. And again, I want to emphasize, you guys, anybody who tells you to pound the pavement, to work hard, to get your dreams to come true is missing a big piece of the pie. Because that hard work, if it's not joyous hard work, it will become the recipe for burnout. And then your emotional body will shift and the things that you loved the most will become arduous. And that is the manifestation, is the emotion. So it is important to play. It is important to rejuvenate. It is important for the balance of your own practicality, to be truly realistic, giving life to playtime, giving life to all the balances. So this is where I think that the butterfly is representing beauty, where Virgo has an opportunity to see the beauty more in their life versus watching the news. And in doing so, start to create dynamic, because that joy, looking at the beauty in your life will bring joy, and that joy will bring in more beauty in your life. And there we go. That's how we start the new manifestation. And that's how we as a tribe every week, and then walking into our weeks as individuals, help hold space for this planet. Because that's what all this disruption is about. Wherever you are in the world, the disruption is the doorway to your dreams, because it's breaking up the old and offering us new choices. And we get scared sometimes when we have our own choices. Sometimes we like to be told what to do. All right, Angie, I'm on to Leo now, starting right now. I remember I worked for a doctor once and I had to wear scrubs. And when I first started wearing the scrubs, I thought, oh, this is so easy. All I have to do is get up and just put these things on and go to work. Don't have to think about it. And then after about a year or two, I'm like, I don't want to wear scrubs. They're ugly, and even though I bought funny ones and different, this and that, I didn't want to be in the routine of it. So this is kind of what it feels like. It's like sometimes there's a routine or an expectation that comes to us that feels easy. Oh, I don't have to think about that. And then we get sick of not thinking. We get sick of not being expressive in ourselves. So really what we want to do is find a happy medium. Oh, what are scrubs, Thibaut? Those are the surgical garb. They're just boxy pants and a top that if you get blood on it, you can wash it out. It's just that really baggy clothing you see on every doctor show. And nurses wear them as well. Okay, here we go. Leo, rising, sun, moon, and stelliums. All right. All right, here we go. We have Archangel Uriel in the foundational position. We have Desiree in the opportunity of the obstacle. We have Opal in the angel's advice. And then we have Chantal in the final position. All right. Okay, so when I started, well, let me just finish. So the first joining Archangel Uriel is the Risk card. Joining Desiree is the Merlin. Joining Opal is the Horse. And joining Chantal is the High Priestess. Okay, so the first thing I got when I looked at this was that I felt like fifth house activities, straight up, personal pleasure, joy, a little bit older, high school kids, having kids, romance. And I feel like this is, I'm all over the place in my head because I've really got this bug that us as humans are supposed to pay attention to the fact that the sun rules the fifth house of personal pleasure. I feel like the conjunction in Capricorn breaking up all of these structures, these dutiful structures, are to illuminate us to pay attention to our fifth house desires. And for Leo, I feel like there's a certain amount of frustration that you've had in the things that you love. I don't want to just say it in your love life because that can very well be happening, but I think it's overall fifth house dynamics, your own creativity, your own expression, your own joys, romance. And now it's time to risk something bigger than being angry. And I say that because I'm going to go to the final position. Here is Chantal, the angel of romance, and here is the High Priestess. This is an intuitive card. It's a bigger picture. It's a deeper knowing. It's a connection to the angelic realm. In addition, it's connection to all things unseen, our contracts. Because I want to put it like this. I feel like there could be the potential that Leo has had a major disruption in their love life or in their love body. And it doesn't mean you had a breakup. It could be you've been broken up with someone for a while and then you find out they moved on, they're getting married, they're having a baby, and it just triggers everything that in your love life that you haven't had. Because in the opportunity, the obstacle is Desiree saying conditions aren't favorable. And then there's Merlin. Merlin is about balance. It's about alchemy. It's about justice. And I want to say it this way because Desiree saying conditions aren't favorable is the idea that the group, the creative group that you broke up with, Bobo, or the boyfriend that your girlfriend or dynamic that you broke up with, or that you're frustrated by, or that you haven't experienced yet. If you're single and you haven't dated in a while, if you really look back at your potentials, were any of them aligned to the spiritual dynamic you are experiencing now? Because this is part of the life path that's so important for you. And I want to say this for Leo because I'm almost saying, like, don't get too frustrated because this is the good news. These people went away because they were supposed to go away. They weren't really aligned. So now because I'm taking the horse in a Sagittarian way, I'm taking it in moving in a new direction and changing my beliefs and having that more childlike innocence here. The opal specifically as a child card represents God taking care of your babies, both in heaven and on earth. And I think of that as babies are little people, but they're also dreams. When people want to have a family, they dream of having a baby. So to me, this is a lot about love for Leo. It's a lot about self-expression. It's a lot about babies. It's about fifth house dynamics and you being frustrated with them. And Spirit is saying, you know what? Even though it may appear frustrating right now, go to the other side of it. Use your sun. Use your leadership to put yourself and your focus into what you want to experience. I've had this pull to create a meditation where it actually leads you not from releasing your problems, but what it feels like to be on the other side of it, to really swim in the joy of it, rather than trying to release the negativity of whatever it is. So Leo, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums, be your Leo self in the sense of allow yourself to experience joy even in the craziest times. Allow yourself to experience your self-expression. Allow yourself to do your hobbies, to play, to be silly. Because I almost feel like that silliness, that enjoyment pulls the frustration off, which then allows what you're looking for to come through. You know what they say about Mercury retrogrades? That they bring old things back. So you never know if you may, and I think you may hear something about an old love that may appear frustrating. And if it does, or an old love may come back professing that they've changed, and they may not have changed a bit. They may have just faded a little bit. So it's really kind of your job to stand in that strong leadership for yourself and allow yourself the privilege of saying my joy is the most important thing, because that's the person I want me leading me through the darkness, if you want to know the truth. All right, let's go on to our Cancers. Yes, Jessica, they will be uploaded after I finish. I try to get done by about 12:30. And Juan has always been so kind to put the timestamps. Unfortunately, he's in the hospital, so it's going to take a little while for me to get them up. So I got a little bit of a busy afternoon, but we'll have them there for you, so you can come back. Yes, Bobo, exactly. That's the perfect. Stay in your integrity and claim your joy. It's the key to. It's really why God gave us this earth plane. And we just got messed up here. We started making rules so that we wouldn't go into anarchy. And then we got a little over the top with rules. We forgot who we are. We're creators. All right, Cancer. First angel is Maya. She showed up so much today. Honestly, we're all learning a lot. And not necessarily about, old, we're learning about history repeats itself, but we're also learning about how our own personal history repeats itself. Okay, here we go. Then there's Athena for my Cancers in the opportunity, the obstacle. Then I have Archangel Gabriel in the Angel's Advice, and then we have Rochelle. Maya is being joined by Merlin. Athena is being joined by the Birth and the Rebirth card. Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the dog, and Rochelle is being joined by the Joy card. Okay. For a while now, I've been saying to Cancer that I feel like this COVID thing has been harder on Cancers than anyone. And I think I feel that way because they rule home, they rule hearth. I think of Christmas celebrations and family gatherings and reunions. So I want to say that Maya represents schooling and education, and Merlin represents justice and balance and alchemy. And also through pressure. So to me, I have felt like this is an opportunity for Cancers to really, I want to put it this way. If you've been restricted from people that you love in some way or another, and you felt frustrated that you can't connect the way you want to, I think you're going to find out that people love you and appreciate you more than you realized. And it's through the deprivation. It was through the not being able to hang out, or through the not being able to connect in some way. Wherever there has been disruption within your life over this last year, and as we go into this week, okay, because I know these are weekly videos, we have the new moon in a challenging aspect. We have Mars acting out. We have, the squares. There's so many squares and oppositions this week. But this week may give you an opportunity as you hold balance to learn something and in many ways experience a rebirth. And that rebirth is in your own sense of power, in your own sense. And I'm going to say it this way, because when I'm checking into this energy right now, it's like, it's not about power like dominion over others. It's like the power of love, the power of the home, the power of having your family members sitting around watching a football game together, enjoying breaking bread together, laughing, rousing each other up. Because that's where I feel like you're going to lovingly assert yourself into these dynamics. And if you don't have a family, I don't really have a family. So this would be my friend family, the people that I bring, because here in the Angel's Advice is the dog representing unconditional love, loyalty, sincerity. And then there's Archangel Gabriel. And she would really represent Mercury in this position. She represents arts and communications. And now it's time you're going to start to have a rebirth as you assert yourself to know that you're loved. Because in the final position is Rochelle saying to honor and follow the guidance of your heart. And then there's the Joy card. So this is the way I want to put it. We're going into the holiday season here. The United States, this month, we have Halloween and, of course, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And while there's all sorts of disruption around us, I feel like if indeed you are being pulled, Cancer, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, to start to implement, I want to in some way say gatherings, safe gatherings, but I feel like you're going to experience people telling you, or in conversations, or through, it almost feels like it could be something simple, like you're dropping your kids off at school and you see a mom or a dad that you haven't seen in a while, and they're like, "Hey, how have you been? I really miss seeing you and your family." I feel like connection is coming for you. And I feel like your job is to learn about how sometimes when we appear to see disruption, or it feels deprivation, or we feel deprived in some way, that's actually fueling a bigger love bubble down the line. I don't know why I want to put it that way, but it's almost as if distance makes the heart grow fonder. And that's what you've experienced the distance, and now you're going to experience the heart growing fonder. So focus in on that. Okay, on to our Geminis. Pardon me. Pardon me. Pressure maketh diamonds, exactly. And diamonds are multifaceted light beings, energy that comes from many different places, and it's all different colors in the right light. That's what I think. CJD, I love that comment. Gemini's born between the 5th and the 15th. That's where we see the degrees coming in. The different degrees. Somebody, I can't remember which one of the astrologers on Lada's channel, talked about a house and the degrees being almost like when you first come in the first few degrees, you're new in the house. You're unfamiliar with its layout. By the time you get to the middle, you're familiar and you've figured out how to work it. And by the time you get to the end of a house, you have become accustomed to how that works. And you should have a certain amount of prowess in it. So when I see the degrees, which I've paid real close attention to, because Pluto's going to sit on my sun forever. Like, I don't know when it's going to move. And it'll take years to get to the 26th degree of my ascendant, and then go on to the 27th degree of my Mars. And so by then I could be 70 for all I know. How are those things going to affect? I keep wondering if Pluto's going to kill me. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Let me go on to Gemini, guys. I think, in some ways, CJD, allowing your intuition, when we get, I know there's a lot of really smart and well-schooled and educated astrologers, but I do believe that Spirit wants us to use our intuitions as well. Because again, that's sort of breaking that obligatory box that, does Saturn never get to evolve past being the great, Maleficent, the great dryer, the great, depressor? That's not fair to Saturn. Saturn has so many beautiful things to give us. So I think allowing for our own intuitions to see the evolved planets within ourselves and how we work through them. Okay. And I guess that would reflect on the progress chart, huh? Okay. Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Adriana. The second is Caressa. The third is Aurora. And the final is Mystique. The 8th house, Dawn, is also about the occult. It's about astrology. It's about looking to the stars. So when we start to focus in on that, if indeed, I don't know exactly what's transiting. Is Pluto transiting your 8th house? Is that what you're saying? Because I said that. Then look at how you can use the more higher vibrational dynamics of Pluto into that 8th house. And maybe your draw to astrology right now is going to empower you in a way that you can't even imagine. KL, we'll talk about the eclipses as we get closer to those. We do these each week. So, hey, Debbie, how you doing? All right, here we go. Sorry, I started talking between again. Oh, don't be mad at me, Gemini. I'm still shuffling. Okay. Adriana is being joined by the king. Caressa is being joined by the queen. Aurora is being joined by the butterfly. And Mystique's been joined by the focus card. Okay, there's no love cards here, but with the king and the queen coming out, it was interesting to me because I felt like a couple. So here we have Adriana saying, I'm leading you to the answers to your prayers. For those of you that are single Geminis, I want to offer you this. If indeed you're looking for a relationship and want a relationship, I think this is a little bit of bless the broken road. And I also want to offer this. Your Gemini mind may be undermining you in some way, because if you're too focused in on loss, you will be challenged to be able to see the brightness that's being offered to you as we walk through this challenging time and move all the stuff that isn't working for you out of the way so you can get to what is going to work for your life path, because you're at the end of a life cycle. And I believe that this is about not owning the queen aspect in you, the receiver, not a queen like, oh, I'm queen, I'm the queen. No, this is a feminine energy that receives bounty. She does not seek it out. She does not, this energy of the queen, and this is for you guys as well. It doesn't have to be a feminine, it's receptive energy. So this is now an opportunity to close a chapter of pushing too hard or allowing duplicity to get in your way. And you'll see why I'm saying that, because at the end of the day, you're going to see it's your focus, because the card is right there. Because in the angel's advice says you are flying high right now. Don't descend, because you will soon inspire others, because you are going to blossom into things that you couldn't imagine. I'm thinking of one client in particular who very much wants to meet her life partner. And she's had some opportunities with some nice gentlemen, and those gentlemen have had their own spiritual growth. And, she tends to say, well, if they're not ready now, I'm done. I'm moving on, new things. And I tend to think that something old is going to come back for her. And I say that because, and her focus is on moving on. Now, I'm not saying to focus in on the guy and to be too duplicitous. The focus should be on opening up to whatever best serves your highest and greatest good. So you hop, skip, and you jump over the human focus, the human person you have as the object of your desire, and you go into what it feels like to be in a relationship, and you focus in on that, because Mystique says you're in the middle of a process, and that process is bringing you miraculous solutions, and your job is to stay focused in on the end goal. The end goal is oh, I want to be in a happy marriage where we laugh a lot. I want to be in a relationship that's easy to be in. I enjoy this person's company. They don't complete me, they complement me. That's where I want to go with this. This is your opportunity for Gemini. And I want to offer it this way because, we can look at Uranus and Mercury making this opposition. So something could happen very unexpectedly. Something could happen in a way that you couldn't predict. And this is part of your growing process, is to be able to contemplate the unknown and the unexpected, and in a good way, not in a way that is negative towards your life path. I feel like this is super good because if I take it out of relationships and I put it in a way for people who are already in relationships and they're perfectly fine in them, then the king is going to represent justice. It's going to represent things that are coming to you that you have put in your emotional vortex, in the plan of your life path that you want to experience. And your job is to allow yourself to receive them and not to dumb them down in any way, and to understand that it's a process of co-creation. And the co-creation is not just between you and spirit, but about the other parties involved. So if indeed you've been doing your emotional, spiritual work to be a viable and fruitful partner, then you turn that over to spirit and let them take the baton to then bring that other person into the vibration that will meet you on the level that you want to experience, versus meeting you on the level of still having to learn that experience. Okay. That's awesome. CC Pups, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate that so much. It just warms my heart. I can't even tell you. It makes my tail wag. All right, here we go. On to our Tauruses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And I think, if I remember correctly, Uranus is still hovering around my moon. I think it's off the 9-degree mark. I can't remember. I didn't check it in the last couple of days, but oi, I'll tell you. Okay. Thank you, CC Pups. I think it'll probably be a very regular birthday. I don't expect anything too dramatic. I have not spent my birthday with another human being in, I can't even remember how long. But I know what I'm going to order from Uber for my birthday. Uber Eats. I got my meal planned in my head. Oh, Makitha, 29 degrees. Taurus, that's a very intuitive degree. All right, here we go. Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Aurora. The second is Athena. The third is Indriel. And the final is Opal. Thank you, CC Pups. Whew, it's going quick. I guess it's better than the alternative. I don't want to go anywhere, so I guess I'll have to grow old. Okay. All right, Taurus. Joining Aurora is the forgiveness card. Joining Athena is the water fairy. Joining Indriel is the truth card. And joining Opal is the mystery card. I'm going to pull a clarification card. Okay. Thank you, Bobo. All right. Aurora says you're flying high right now. Don't descend because you will soon inspire others. And there's the forgiveness card. With Uranus shifting through, what is it? Almost an 8-year transit. We're only in the first couple of years of it. I want to offer it this way because this Taurus is a fixed sign. It wants to stay where it is. Is it not a fixed sign? Yes, it's a fixed sign. Cardinal fixed. Mutable. Okay, got it. I hate when I find out that I said something wrong because I think this is about reconciliation. And the reconciliation is whatever Uranus is bringing to liberate you, to free you, that you don't expect, that feels a little bit like a lightning jolt, but it could be something that is so energizing and so electric that it's inspiring. Because the reconciliation card here in the form of forgiveness says something makes sense that makes me brave enough to leap off of the balcony of my own life and start to empower myself. Here's the opportunity and or the obstacle by what I want to experience. It's safe for me to lovingly move towards what I want to experience. And that is to experience emotional joy. I don't even think that this is about intuition at this point. I think I'm going with look how she's caressing herself. I don't see this as shyness. I see this as wanting to feel caressed in my emotional body, wanting to be seen. And I feel like in the angel's advice, this is not necessarily about being a light worker, but about shining your own particular light, the truth of who you are and what you want. There are people that enjoy hugs and cuddles, and there are people who don't enjoy hugs and cuddles. There are people who enjoy mental stimulus, and we all have these different dynamics. And I feel like for Taurus, there's a liberation coming to you that makes a lot of sense at the end of the day, because here we have Opal, and in this particular card of children really, to me, traverses between the child inside and the child that I may give birth to, or maybe the father of, because the child inside, I need to choose her in a form of leadership. It's time to choose yourself in your happiness. This is the thing. It sounds so trite. Oh, just be happy and your life will be great. The human is not naturally trained to be happy through their own devices. They're trained to make other people happy. So you're a good girl. You're a good boy. You did well in school. You didn't do well in school. You're a nice person. You're not. Selfish, not selfish. There's all these contradictions. So what I'm trying to say is as we're leaving this going, let me put it this way, going into the age of Aquarius and leaving this sort of dutiful dynamic that we've been experiencing in this. I know we're in the age of Pisces as we go into the age of Aquarius, but it has such a restrictive Capricornian feel to me. I keep forgetting that it's the age that it's Pisces. So I want to say it this way for Taurus. You're being liberated. And in some ways, please don't resist your own liberation, but rather lay into it in the way that you give life to your dreams. You give life to not how they'll show up, not who will make them happen, not the amount of money you need to make them happen, but how they feel. What does it feel like when I'm sitting in that spot? Because I think this is about you learning to choose you, and not in a selfish, stubborn, defensive way, but rather in a way that is more magnanimous, more generous to others, because it gives the security that Taurus can represent, can also make our dreams feel secure. That's how I want to put it. So, all right. On to our final size, Aries. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Everybody, I want to say this, the amount of us experiencing in this tribe that I have seen myself, I know Small has felt depleted. Obviously, Juan is going through a huge challenge. We had Thibaut with his sight things going on, and Nikki with her tummy. I mean, I think if we could all just say a prayer to the tribe, for the tribe in general, that we all can see the wisdom of these challenges and what our bodies are trying to tell us and how we're feeling. Because I know for myself that I feel like my body is trying to tell me that when I was under illusion, when I didn't know that my life would be able to manifest the way that it has, and even the things that are coming down the line that I don't know. And so I didn't like my body, and I didn't treat it well. And I sort of abused it, like, well, whatever, if I live, I die, I don't care. Well, I do care now. And so in doing so, I want to start to allow God's, I want to allow spirit, God's light, the angels to envelop me vibrationally, and then motivate me to do what I need to do to course correct what I haven't done, so that we can be here and we can continue to hold space on this planet for the change. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, Nikki, your tummy. I can't tell you. I know the celery juice is not fun, but it's good for your tummy. Okay, here we go, Aries. There's Maya. We've got a lot of Maya. There's Athena. Very interesting. There's Rochelle. And then there's the caution card. All right. So Mars is all cranky. We know that. Mars is not liking the conversation it's having with Saturn at all. And oh no, ear infection. That's so uncomfortable. Okay, so I'm sorry I interrupted for Aries, because I'm like, as I look at this, it's like there's a couple things going on, because my dad used to say, you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And I kind of want to say this to my Aries because of the schooling and education, but let's see. Joining Maya is the novice. Joining Athena is the truth card. Joining Rochelle is the hawk. And joining Bridget is the queen. Okay. This is exactly what it felt like to me. Aries, David Cochran talked about Aries being the truth seeker. But being a truth seeker, Aries can be impatient in what seems obvious to them. You know, it's like, catch up. We're in a hurry. Let's go. Let's move things along. And I feel like what it's funny that this new moon is in a challenging aspect to Mars, because I think that Mars is to learn about diplomacy. And it's not what you say, it's how you say it that actually gets people motivated or repels them. So I want to say that this is what Aries has been going through. This whole last 6 months, since September 9th and going through the end of this year, and even more so, because I can't remember when Mars entered Aries. It was eons ago, it feels like now. And then we add retrograde and then going forward. So Aries is going through a huge education and an opportunity for a new beginning and for skills that have not been practiced. And the skills are lovingly asserting yourself in your truth. And so it's almost like not necessarily needing the agreement that your truth is valid from others, because at this time, at this juncture, This is an opportunity to really trust and follow the guidance of your own heart. And I want to say it this way, this rising above the situation is not about rising above fear to me today. For some reason, it feels like words don't teach, experience teaches. So rather than try to school somebody with my words and tell them something, if I follow my joy and I follow the truth of me without judgment of whether someone else is doing what I'm doing or in agreement with me, then I truly have an opportunity not only for me to learn something and the power of my own diplomacy, but also the other person inadvertently has an opportunity to teach or to learn, I should say, from the experience. Because we have Bridget. Bridget is a card of looking deeper into a situation. And the situation is it's not necessarily negative. It's how am I using my queenly energy, or how am I using my leadership energy? Am I being engaging and enrolling, or am I being dominant and bossy? So I don't want to interrupt the reading, Nikki. I'm catching what you're saying. I want to say this for Aries, because you have so much power and so much strength and so much courage and bravery. And so this dynamic with the moon and your being able to, it's almost like being able to see the lower aspects of your Aries energy will help you to be in the higher vibrations of it. And in doing so, you truly become the truth seeker that engages others. Because the Bridget being in the sometimes when we're a warrior, we can't see ourselves receiving. We can only see the action going out. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do this. And so now when I look deeper into a situation about how am I engaging others to be receptive to me, that's how I want to put it. So there we go. That's what I want to say. Aries has a lot to learn about themselves over these next few months, and especially the late-born Aries, because that's where we're going to see the retrograde and then the going direct again. And I want to say, I don't want you to think of it as a punishment. I want you to think of it as an illumination and an opportunity to truly be, thank you, Jenny B, on the hero's journey, and to be standing in a vibration that not only hold space for your own truth, but other people's truth, because truth is subjective. It's what comes through. It's what we feel within our hearts, and it's our perceptions. So that's it for this week. I hope Nikki's ear feels better and her jaw feels better. That is such incredible pain. That's not good. So I'm sorry for that. I hope everybody who's feeling challenges in their physical bodies will feel better soon. So, be super gentle. It's not a time to be frivolous or take thoughtless actions, guys. Even when you're walking across the street, don't guarantee that the car that's driving 60 miles an hour sees you, even if you're wearing bright orange. Just be mindful. I just think it's a time to exercise a little bit more caution. And thank you, everybody, for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. When I see you next week, I'll be just a wee bit older, and I hope a wee bit wiser. And everybody, please have one in your prayers. And thank you, Small Wildflowers, for being here and for always taking care of the tribe and moderating. I couldn't do this show without you. And I'll see you guys next week. We'll kind of try to come for some fun things, new things for us to experience together too. All right, guys, I'll be back next week. In the meantime, be gentle, be loving with yourself, and let it trickle out to others. Peace.